I'm Laura the Tally. Today I want to share with you a fabulously delicious recipe for my overnight rolls. Now, my dinner rolls are very popular, and every single year at a holiday never ever fails that I get people asking me, can you do those in advance? Can you make the dough the night before so that it's a little less for me to do the day of the big day, the day of the holiday. So I played around with the recipe. I also wanted to make the batch bigger because, well, we're feeding more people. So this recipe is so phenomenal. You are going to love it. Now these, they are the fluffiest. If you have been making my dinner rolls for a while, then you know they're fluffy and delicious and buttery and so good. These are like that, but maybe even better. I know. And if you want to maybe make less, if you don't want to make as many, just cut the recipe exactly in half, which is really easy to do because everything is equal parts. So it's like 6 cups of flour, 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of yada. So it's really easy to do. Let's work on our yeast first because it's really important. To some warm water, you want to make sure that your water is nice and warm. We're going to add a pinch of sugar and our active dry yeast. I'm going to stir that around. And I'm just going to set that aside for a few minutes. If your yeast doesn't foam and activate, that means it's not going to do that in your final step. When you want the dough to rise, it's not going to do that. So let the yeast do its thing for a few minutes, and we're going to move on to the rest of the ingredients. I've got lots of all-purpose flour, salt. To it, I'm going to add sugar. In my standing mixer here. I am going to be doing this in my standing mixer just because there's a lot of dough, and this thing was a lot of dough, so it needs to pay for itself. So just going to give those a stir. While the yeast is doing its magical thing, I'm going to take some whole milk and some unsalted butter, mix them together, pop them in the microwave, or you could do this on a saucepan, and I'm going to just put those in there until the butter is just about fully melted and the mixture is really warm. It takes a minute in my microwave. You're going to have to adjust yours, but I'll show you what it looks like, and then we're pretty much going to have to pull everything together. It's so easy, but it's the best fluffy, enriched dough of life. All right, the warm milk and butter mixture is just where I want it. The butter is continuing to melt as I stir, but it's fine if it's not perfect. I want you to look at the yeast, because if your yeast at this point does not look like this, all foamy and it smells really strong, then your yeast is not activated. So you either have old yeast or your water is too hot or too cold, which either way will not work. So I'm going to add at this point everything in. This is the easiest dough. I'm telling you, it is the easiest dough, but it is fantastic. I'm also going to take actually my eggs. These are beautiful farm fresh eggs. Give them like a little whisk. Good. Add them in along with this mixture. And now I just take my wooden spoon, just sort of like help it along, just start to mix. And then I'm going to put it on this bad boy. I'm going to attach my dough hook, and I'm going to let it go on medium speed for like 2 to 3 minutes. The dough will be a little bit sticky, but that is exactly what you're looking for. In the meantime, grab a large bowl, grease it, light olive oil, veg oil, whatever. This is good. I'm not going to go any further. Just going to go grab my hook, and I'll show you what we're looking for when we are there. So after about 3 minutes, this is what your dough will look like. It's a little tacky. It's not sticky like wet dough, but it's a little bit tacky, and that is what you are looking for. Now, through the magic of Laura in the Kitchen, because we do try to be very magical around here, I made a batch last night at 9 p.m., almost at 9 a.m., at 9 p.m. So what you want to do now is you want to take this dough, place it in an oiled bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, pop it in the fridge overnight. Like I said, I did one right here, I'll show you, at 9 last night, and around 9 a.m. this morning, I took it out and I placed it in a warm spot. I like to place my dough in my oven with the oven light on, and it is perfect. You can see it has risen quite a bit. This is exactly what you're looking for. What I'm going to do now is actually just add a very small touch of flour to my work surface because I don't want to add too much. And then what I'll do, because this is already oiled, I'm just going to take this baby, place it in there. You just want to make sure it's resting at room temperature for a couple of hours, somewhere really warm actually. So this is beautiful. It's phenomenal. you can do one of a few things. Life is full of options here. You can eyeball how many rolls you want to make with this, which I think is a little bit of like a dangerous territory because you could have some really small ones, some really big ones, and they're going to cook unevenly. And if they're all in the same pan, then it's a disaster. I don't normally like to do things that are super, super precise, but I do think a scale works really well here. I just sort of flatten it a little bit with my hands. And I also think that 1.5 ounce balls of dough is perfect for this because you are talking dinner roll. You're not talking a huge, you know, sandwich roll. So this is almost 2.5 ounces. It's way too big. And they're going to look small, but you have to keep in mind that these are going to rise again. So that's right about where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1.5 ounce of dough. And I'm just going to divide all of this. So that's going to be the job I do for now. And I also have a sheet pan here that's been laid with some parchment paper, and then we'll move on and form our rolls and then move on to the next step. So the amount of rolls you want to ideally end up with is right around 36. I've got 37 here, which is perfect. Some are like 1.5, some are 1.7, you know, yada, yada, yada. So if you don't work fast enough into forming these into balls, and cover this with a damp towel so they don't dry out, but I'm going to work really, really fast. I just take one of my pieces of dough. You want to make sure that your work surface is not too floury because otherwise it's going to slip. And then I just use the palm of my hand. And this is a great, by the way, bicep workout. I mean, it honestly really is. And that is what you want it to look like. I'm going to place these on my prepared pan. You leave a little bit of room between each other, but if they touch quite a lot, it's fine, because I think one of the best things about dinner rolls, especially sweet dinner rolls, is when they all kind of bake into one and then you have to pull them apart and it's soft and it's just pillowy and it's amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and form all of these. I'm going to cover the pan loosely with a lint-free towel. I'm going to put it back into a warm spot. Like I said, my favorite spot is in the oven with the oven light turned on. It really warms up the oven. Leave them in there for about an hour. You really want these to rise a bit more, and then we get going on baking, and I'll show you what they look like when they're there. All right, these were rising for about an hour, and I'm going to pop these in a 350-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until really beautiful golden brown. Halfway through, make sure you just rotate the baking sheet, because sometimes I find that they'll start to brown the very back before the front, and you just want to make sure that they're evenly browned. I'll show you what they look like when they're done. All right, these babies were in the oven for 20 minutes exactly. Make sure you rotate that sheet pan halfway through for even baking. They've been out for less than 5 minutes, and what I've got going on here is something magical. I've got a little bit of butter melted with a touch of honey. We went to a restaurant almost a year ago, and they served buttery sweet rolls with a honey butter on top, and it was just magical. And now I can't think of a better way to top these delicious sweet rolls. It adds a perfect touch of just buttery goodness, a little bit of sticky sweetness. It's just so phenomenal. And I love how they all kind of like bake into each other. And just you wait until I pull these apart. I'm just going to brush the tops and then just wait a couple minutes, and then I'm going to start pulling them apart. I don't think you're fully prepared for what these are like. Okay? Like, I just want you so badly to see them just like, look at that, pull apart. They're just so, oh, that one broke. Whoops. I guess that must be mine. Their height is perfect. It's just incredible. The best. Just LauraInTheKitchen.com. Get the recipe. Make these. You will love them. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. You're going to just love them. They're sweet. They're so soft. They're so buttery. And you're going to adore them. LauraInTheKitchen.com for the recipe. I hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.